There are disturbing reports of persecution against evangelical Christians in portions of Ukraine controlled by separatist rebels, including the murders of several ministers. Joining us now with more is Sergei Rakuba of Russian Ministries. Sergei, tell us about this tragic incident with the ministers a few weeks back. What happened?
What happened that several weeks ago, when the town of Slavyansk in eastern Ukraine was under the siege of these pro-Russian separatists, their militants, a group of armed guys, came into the church right during the Sunday morning worship service. They spotted this young, bright, nice-looking Christian leaders, dragged them out of the church, threw them in their truck, and drove away into unknown location. A few weeks later, when the city was already liberated by the Ukrainian forces, the local people, actually Christians from the same church, in one of the pediatric hospitals' backyard, they found this massive grave, and they discovered that their 4 young leaders were buried in that massive grave. And there was evidences, and the local authorities scheduled investigation and proved so that these young people, they were executed right there on that spot. And then in order to hide evidences or kind of cut the traces of investigation, so they put them in a car and set on fire.
Amazing.
So that's what happened, with these 4 Christian young leaders in Slavyansk.
Sergei, why were these ministers killed? Was it because of their faith, or is there some other reason?
You see, the ideology of this movement, the separatist movement, is, they want to establish Orthodox Christianity in their area. A couple of weeks ago, they even raised the Orthodox flag over one of their administration buildings that they took over in one of the towns. And they announced publicly so that their war is a religious war. They didn't specify holy war or so, but religious war. And they say, we will be fighting for our Orthodox principles, for our Orthodox faith, and every Protestant, evangelical, or foreign representative of any other faith is their enemy. So that's why I believe they use the tactics or strategy of intimidation and strategy. They, on purpose, create so much pressure, even publicly executing these young Christian leaders, so that they want to set lots of fear in the evangelical community. And it happened in many other places. We know that pastors were abducted. There are a couple of still Christian leaders are still missing. Buildings was seized, and that's what's happening. That's why they do this. They want to, through their tactics of intimidation, they want to push the evangelicals out of that area.
How is this all related to the tension between Russia and Ukraine?
It does relate, seriously, because Ukraine is a lot more open to any other opportunity, if you can say, and trying to follow the more civilized and more open way of human rights and freedom, if we can, general freedom for human rights. So that's why, when Russia is supporting this pro-Russian separatist movement in eastern Ukraine, and they believe that they are fighting for their Orthodox principles, values, and ideology, believing that they're fighting for against the European or world immoral influence that Ukraine, unfortunately, signing that agreement with the European Union, is letting into the area all the values of the European and world freedoms. And that's, I believe, this is one of the reasons they push Orthodox fundamental values as the principles for their spiritual ideology, if I can say, for their fight against Ukraine and for their separatistic ideas, in the area.
Sergei, I understand a friend of yours is among the Christians who've been persecuted. Tell me what happened.
One of my friends, that happened actually a couple of days ago, Yuri, my childhood friend. I was born and raised in an area. I moved then on. I lived in Russia. I lived in other places in Ukraine. And he stayed there, and he became one of the local Christian leaders, lay leaders, actually, one of the largest churches in Donetsk. 2 days ago, he was stopped on his way when he was on his way to home, dragged out of his car. They found some notes in his notebook so that he belongs to the local church, and found some other evidences that they thought, that he's connected with foreign religious group or something else. And they, even wanted to shot him. So God miraculously saved him from that. And we just got a story from Yuri, so that he is sharing that his experience. He was ready to meet his Lord, he says. He was ready to die, and God miraculously saved him when the guns were pointed at him. So, and he believes that the angel of God actually got in between. When their guns jammed, he fell on the ground, took an attempt to run, and he says God saved him from death.
A miracle indeed. What's your ministry doing to help the people of Eastern Ukraine?
We're doing anything possible. We can mobilize resources, our networks. We can mobilize people through our leadership training network. We call it School Without Walls. We mobilize hundreds of young Christian leaders that they work with their local churches. We provide resources. They pack food packs. This is the immediate and most urgent need for people that are refugees from that area, but also for the families that are trapped behind those war lines there. So we deliver hundreds and thousands of food packs to these people that are in a terrible need there for immediate assistance. But also we mobilize all possible resources to create counseling ministry to help these people to overcome that tragedy, to find the source of encouragement, and which is the scripture and the Christian community that can surround them. So we're putting lots of effort in counseling ministry, but also training pastors in the nation of Ukraine, trying to get them more involved in the ministry, and through this crisis to advance the gospel, practically helping refugees, getting involved in service there in those areas where destruction is unspeakable, but also to get their churches more involved today to bring the gospel to the broken society in Ukraine and bring the healing. And that's what we believe the church should be doing, first of all, to help with the physical needs and help them spiritually. Absolutely. And through our iCare program that you can learn more about going on our website, which is www.russian-ministries.org. And right there on the front page, there's a banner that can give you more information and lead you to the page where you can learn more about how you can get involved in helping those people that are trapped in that terrible war in Eastern Ukraine, but also to help refugees and help the evangelical church in Ukraine to bring the gospel through the practical ministry to those who are in need there today.
Sergei Rakuba of Russian Ministries, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ephraim.